Jason Flatland here. In my 20s, I went from a Hare Krishna rapping monk to a millionaire before I turned 30. So I have firsthand advice to teach you as a 20-something-year-old how to get rich. Now that I'm a 40-plus-year-old, I also have a unique perspective to share with you. And I'm going to break it down in this video. If you follow this advice, it's going to put you huge up on your other 20-something-year-old hustle, grind, sigma male type of individuals. But this is a lecture. This is the stern father breaking it down to his sons because he wants to see them succeed. So let's get into it. Here are 5 critical things that you need to get rich. The first thing you need is experience. Next, you need wisdom. Third, you need connections. Fourth, you need resources. And fifth, you need a support network. And as a young man, you probably don't have any of those. You literally don't have much adult life experience because you're young. So it's like, okay, what do you do if you don't have experience? I've had experience tens of thousands of hours in multiple different disciplines of business that are now very unconscious for me. I can just show up and I'm ready and I'm on as a result of doing something longer than you've had the opportunity to even begin to work on your business. So you need experience. You lack it right now. Even more important than experience is wisdom. Guess where wisdom comes from? It comes from getting your ass kicked, not once, not twice, but 3 times, maybe 4, maybe 5. And then when you go home, you nurse your wounds. That's when wisdom seeps in. Wisdom comes back on the back of lots of losses. And that gives you such powerful insight, and it adjusts how you play the game. And wisdom is something you unfortunately can't shortcut. It's like you can't get 9 women pregnant and have a baby in a month. There's a process that you must follow, whether you're patient or not. It's required that you follow a process of time plus getting your ass kicked in order to gain the wisdom. You don't have that. So this is a disadvantage, just like experiences and just like connections are. I want you to imagine you have this 50 or 60-year-old multimillionaire. Is he going to want to hang out with you? Is he going to want to play golf with you? Is he going to want to introduce you to his friends? No. First of all, he's got nothing in common with you. He doesn't understand your Gen Z, whatever slang. He doesn't know what any of that means. Plus, you don't really have much you can offer him. His experience typically, unfortunately, with 20-year-olds hasn't probably been very positive, and I know you're the exception to that, but he's just going to judge you book by the cover kind of a thing. So you don't have connections. The fourth thing is you don't have resources. I have things I've done 15 years ago that are still valuable, that I can dust off, pull out, put some new lipstick on them, push them back into the world, and they're instantly valuable in 2024 and beyond. I can draw from existing resources and create new ones. You have to invent the wheel from scratch. So that's a challenge that you have. And lastly, you don't have a support network probably. You have a unsupport network. Your friends aren't saying, yeah, go follow your dreams and let's compare notes on what we're doing. Your friends are saying, nah, dude, put the thing away and let's go party. Like normal, quote unquote, 20-year-olds do it. Whereas me, everybody I hang out with is a millionaire at this point. In my phone contact, I could scroll through it, randomly push a button and probably call a millionaire just like that. And you get that by doing things over time to enhance other people's lives and then having them reciprocate for you. So these are all the disadvantages you have. Now, a lot of people who are guru training you on social media like to pretend those things don't exist. They like to think that, oh, you just need this tactic or this technique or this strategy, and they ignore, oh, you don't have experience or wisdom or connections or resources or support network, which is important than all of the hustle culture information or just work really hard. That all of those things are way more advantageous to you than that. This is the other thing that a lot of people aren't addressing is the pendulum of society right now has swung not in your favor anymore. So you are not the most favored demographic in society right now. And you could complain about it, and now you're just wasting time. Complaining just makes it worse. Good or bad or indifferent, whoever society is pushing as the key demographic right now or whatever, it doesn't matter. If you can play the game in an unfavorable position, it's still worth playing if the game is important to you. So the weather outside should not influence the decisions that we make inside. You can't just say, well, it's not fair and therefore I won't do it because it will remain unfair and then you don't get what you want. You can say, regardless of whether it's fair or not, I don't care what society is saying I need to do. Here's what I want to do. And in a free society, which we still, believe it or not, live in, you have the capability to making the world bend to your will as opposed to you bending to the world's will. So that's the good news. It won't feel like that. Trust me. You will feel like it's you against the world most of the time. And if that can motivate you, fantastic. But if it becomes a chip on your shoulder, that weighs you down. That slows you down. So if that becomes a chip, just set it aside. Now, here's what you do have. Because in every strength is in a weakness, and every weakness is in a strength. You have a more intuitive understanding of technology. I don't understand Instagram whatsoever, like how to post stuff, how to caption it, how to cut it. I open the thing up and I have a heart attack because I look at all these different buttons that you have to push and things like that. I just don't get that. Now, because of who I am, I can hire people to do that. I have people that want to help me to do that. And I also have a name and a reputation, so I can get by without knowing that. But when I was starting, even in my 20s, I had that big advantage because all the business people online were 50 plus years old and have zero understanding of technology. So I could easily come in and start as the guy that builds their website and end with the guy that does all of their marketing. They thought they were just paying me to build a website. They didn't know they were going to give me a $20,000 contract kind of a thing. So your intuitive understanding of technology, having been truly the first generation since birth out of the womb to be developed on the internet, that can be a huge advantage for you. Secondly, you have energy. I hope you never have to wake up with back pain, knee pain, acid reflux, indigestion, headaches, and ringing in the ears. This is what happens in your 20s when you go to heavy rock, metal, Slipknot concerts. I mean, I came from Iowa, so we went to Slipknot all the time. You get tendonitis in your 40s. I've learned, I didn't know. Maybe my parents actually knew what they were talking about when they told me about that. So you have a lot more energy in your 20s than you realize, and you have a lot less things slowing you down than you realize, purely from an energetic standpoint. So you will probably be able to outwork most 40, 50, 67-year-old guys head to head. Now, they will outwork you because they can bring in teams. Now, teams aren't as good, though, as you are as an individual. So you have the energy. It's where you put the energy that matters. So energy is your most valuable resource. That is the thing you want to invest the most in and make sure, if I'm doing energetic things, am I getting a return on the energy? And the more you can get a return on the energy, the more you can put to it. But you got to be very cautious about investing energy in things that don't pay off for you. So social media, 90% of the energy you're putting into it from a consumer standpoint, from scrolling and liking and thumbs upping and DMing and all that kind of stuff, that's a poor return on your energy. But if you can focus on the few things that you already have an advantage in and accelerating experience and results and resources in, fantastic use of energy. Now, here's another thing you have going for you that most successful people later on in life don't. You have less obligations. You don't have 156 different things that you're required that you can't skip that must be tended to. You have obligations, don't get me wrong, but you don't have the kind of obligations that people typically have in the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. If you don't own a house and you have no mortgage, you have a lot of flexibility in your geographic location of where you can show and where you can go. If you don't have children who you have to take to school and you have to make sure that they're doing good in school and you have to tend to their needs, which is kind of important as a parent and is to me a higher obligation than anything I do ever in my business, you have an advantage there that people like me now don't have. And so because you have less obligations, you should be very careful on the obligations that you take on, because many of these obligations, once you take them on, you can't take them off. But if you have little friction moving right now, you can invest all your money and all your time back into the business to compound it. Because here's the truth. Compounding is the most effective force in any business. Just like compound interest is the biggest way to become rich. A billionaire has a harder time not making another $1 billion. Because the compounding effect of what you have continued to grow on itself over and over again. So you need to invest in the compounding of resources, the compounding of skill sets, the compounding of your own knowledge and what you can uniquely bring to the world. And you can further build the compounding with the less obligations that you have, at least at the start of it. So these are the things that you have moving forward. So now that you know this, let's talk about your plan, okay? Here's the first thing that if I were you, I would do. I would find a way to get experience in an emerging field that is the least uneven in terms of playing field. Because the reality is every field you're playing in right now is uneven. It's all against you. Every single one of them. So try to find the one that's least against you, the least uneven playing field, and move into that. So if I were starting over again, I would go straight into AI, but not just general AI, chat GPT, that kind of stuff. I would find a very specific niche within a niche of AI. And so because it's new to everybody. You can be the foremost expert in the world on it, even though you're 21 years old. Whereas somebody like me who's done webinars for 16 years, who's done thousands and thousands of hours of webinar, how are you going to catch up to me? It's going to be very difficult. Somebody who has millions of followers on social media, how are you going to catch up to them when they already occupy the space that you want to go into? It's going to be very difficult. But if you can get into a field where it's new for everybody, and it's something that is easier for a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old to understand than a 45-year-old, that's a huge advantage for you. This allows you to get the experience. This allows you to develop the resources. This allows you to make connections with other people that are also experimenting in that field. And some of them will become what we call your business 5, which is step number 2. You want to develop your business 5 as fast as possible. So what is your business 5? You are typically the 5 people you associate with the most. You weigh about what your 5 closest friends weigh. You are worth about what your 5 closest friends are worth. You believe mostly the same ideology as your 5 closest friends. Now, that's general, but also specifically. It doesn't have to be the same 5 people for everything. So the 5 people that I have in my religious 5 are different than the 5 people that I have in my business 5. So you want to develop a business 5. You want to create the 5 closest people to you that most reflect your values, and then use that multiplicatively, where you can work off of each other to grow to who your future selves want to be. So if you're clear on your future self and you surround yourself with other people who have that same or similar future self, that's going to create tomorrow's connections. I have people that I started with at the same time 10 or 15 years ago who are now $100 million worth or more, and they're friends of mine. I can call them on the phone anytime I need advice. And I might have had 15 or 20 people starting out that all had promise that I knew, but at the end, him or her, I didn't know who was going to break through, and they didn't know if I was going to break through. So because now I didn't get the connections up front, I didn't know who was going to break through, I just made a lot of really good connections with a lot of good people. And then I refined it along the way to have this core business 5 that I can always use for advice. And you need to develop that. That'll be the biggest game changer, better than any YouTube video you could watch, better than any podcast that you can listen to. And the third thing you're going to want to do along the way, so you develop the connections, you get the experience, you want to have unconscious fundamental skills that you begin to develop. So I like selling. I think selling is one of the most critical skills in business. It's not a required skill, but if you develop first principles of the least amount of things I would need to learn to be successful in business, selling could be considered one of those first principles. If you can sell, you'll never be poor, because you can always find a way to create value where money gets exchanged. Now, if you hate selling, you can go into management. I typically find people do one or the other very well. They either are managers or they are salespeople. They rarely can do both. So if you're not going to sell, learn management. Management is managing resources, typically other people, to develop systems and outcomes. And that is really powerful. So management is a skill set, selling is a skill set, productivity is a skill set, strategic thinking is a skill set. You can't master them all. There's not enough time in the day, but you can pick one to master fundamentally. And then once you get that one and it's locked in unconsciously, then you can add the next one. And what you ultimately want to do is, over time, as you do these things, develop a reputation. And it's funny because what are the most popular movies right now in Hollywood that are being produced? They're finally starting to kind of not be popular anymore, but they've made more money than any other movie that has existed, and that's superhero movies. And here's what a Hollywood studio does. They don't say, let's push the envelope, let's innovate, let's come up with something really awesome and really new. They say, what's the least likely thing for us to lose money with? What is the safest bet that we can bank on? Oh, I know, another superhero movie. Okay, let's just make, another Robert Downey Jr. Let's put him in as a different thing than he was before, because he won't do Iron Man more, but we can't let go of this cash cow. And they do that because they develop a reputation. They go, this actor is safe to cast here. This type of movie is safe to cast there. And because of reputation, the rich get richer, even when they suck. If their reputation is, he's good and I kind of don't know anybody else, I'm going to go with him. And you don't have a reputation yet. I have a reputation. And so I get deal flow coming to me that I don't even know exists. And I get people showing up literally saying, will you do this thing for me? And here's $50,000. And I'm like, I didn't even know you existed and you knew I existed because of reputation. And so what you want to ultimately do is everything that you're doing, consider how it can help enhance and build and grow your reputation. And please don't do anything to harm your reputation. Because when I was a kid, if I said something stupid, nobody remembered it. But you as a kid saying something stupid in a tweet 8 years ago, somebody can dig that stuff up. So you want to be very conscious of the reputation that you create to become the go-to. If you get nothing else from this video, get this. You want to be the go-to. How quickly can you be the go-to in the market? That when somebody thinks of X, they think of your name. So consider everything that I put into here. You can do it. All the billionaires of tomorrow are going to start in the same place you're starting today. Zero. From the ground up. You make $1 million, $1 at a time. So it doesn't matter what dollar you're on right now. The path is there. You can follow it. This advice will help get you there. Let me know what resonated with you most. I'll see you in the next video.